family. And as we see, we are in a different world and we are in a different place. Some say that we were going to get here regardless, but we never knew we were going to get here like this. Um, things are changing. Things are changing fast. And I actually just wanted to hop on just real quick. And I know that while we have protests going on, we have COVID that has not changed. And that's why I wanted to hop on, because there's some significant data that we already know what is going to happen. We already can tell you where this is going to go. So my comments are not about not protesting. They are really about what to prepare for. And so we got it. And so therefore we have to go back to the basics. If you could drop in your comment section where you're listening from, that would be extremely helpful. But again, this is going to be a very short live. I just want to share with you where we're going, where we're probably going to wind up. Let's get started. Every state that opened up early, every single state that opened up early has started to see spikes, significant spikes in their number of deaths. We no longer talk about it in terms of COVID positive tests. Why? Because it's just a matter of your state may do more testing. Every state that opened up early, they're seeing a number of increased hospitalizations and increased deaths. And it usually happens about 10 to 14 days thereafter. What does this have to do with what we're talking about? We've got to go back to the basics. Why? Because there will be an increased number of deaths as it relates to the protests. This is an academics talk. I am not speaking about whether or not protest is wrong, right? Because I'm a protester advocate. But we have to be, we just have to know the facts. There will be an increased number of deaths in about 10 to 14 days as it relates to COVID. There will definitely be an increase in number of hospitalizations as it relates to COVID. Why? Because the most important thing that we can do is social distancing. And by the way, what you're about to hear is a repeat and a reminder of a lot that I said, because we're about to hit another wave, a wave we did not anticipate. Back to what I was saying. So the three most important things that we already know is social distancing, 6 feet apart. We know that's a minimum. Wearing our mask and our gloves. Let's tie this into protesting. I think you can protest and be 6 foot and have a 6 foot distance. Some disagree. Let's not argue about that. But what we can unarguably say, wearing a mask is absolutely essential. Why? Because you may be healthy, your family may be healthy, but as a result of not wearing a mask, you may pass the virus on to someone else, or you may get the virus, and therefore you go on and infect other people who may infect other people who are of the vulnerable population. Which is why it's important to go over the signs and symptoms. Like, hey, we're 3 months in this. Why are we going over the signs and symptoms? Because we're about to experience them again. Most common signs and symptoms are cough, fever, sore throat, shortness of breath, and general malaise, as well as loss of taste in your mouth. Again, those symptoms are very important. Very important. They usually occur 4 to 5 to 6 days after the exposure. So for those who've already started to protest, you may start to experience those symptoms. What do? You still don't run to the ER. You home isolate for 14 days. Yes, your protesting is done for 14 days in the interest of the greater good, in the interest of the greater good of the community, in the interest of the greater good of your family. If you've been protesting and you experience those symptoms, cough, fever, shortness of breath, general malaise, loss of sensation or loss of taste and smell. That's a sign of COVID. Your protesting days are over, and you home isolate for 14 days. Next step, follow me. As you all know, I'm a board certified emergency medicine practicing in the ER, still seeing COVID patients. Reasons to go to the ER once you're home. Most COVID patients that I see, 97% of them go home. But when you go home, the symptoms that you want to watch for whether or not you go to the ER are real simple. If you have worsening shortness of breath, again, worsening shortness of breath, bluish lips, or signs of confusion, or you have persistent chest pain, any neurological deficit, meaning you lose use of a limb, those are signs to go to the ER right away. Again, if you've been protesting from the moment that you were protesting, like we protested last Saturday, yes, you should expect to experience symptoms around the 5th to 7th day. I know it's up to 14 days, but most commonly it's between the 5th and the 7th day. That is absolutely key. And then finally, we've got to be wide open about what's going to happen. And again, I've said this again, because I don't want people to be thrown off. When there's an increased number of deaths, because that's what the model will show, that's what don't be alarmed. But the decisions you make leading to go to that protest are key. The split-second decisions you make while you were out there. Just so happened, it's not just a business concept. The split-second decision you make about taking off your mask, there's a critical consequence. A split-second decision, as we've already known, as we've learned, is the TLC factor. Split-second decisions are those when there's a lack of time, a limited amount of information. The L and the C are critical consequence, TLC. The critical consequence is taking off your mask. Now, no one's perfect. I get it. A good example of someone not being perfect, if you go to my Facebook page, look at last Saturday, you saw for a moment I took off my mask. It wasn't planned, but something happened. It was strange. I thought by taking off my mask, I could see better. It made no sense, but I think that because my son was there, I was on hyper alert. But I immediately put it back on. When you go down, make the decision to take your mask down there. Now let's go to the risk factors, which are absolutely essential and absolutely key. The risk factors, and this one of them is not listed on the CDC website. So I always tell you when I talk of something that's not listed on the CDC site, but it is listed in the other literature. Out of New York, what we've learned, the two most important risk factors are hypertension and obesity. Obesity, look, real talk, COVID's going to be here for another 18 months. If you're overweight, if you are obese, you have time to lose weight and to decrease that as a risk factor. Follow me on YouTube at Dr. Geoffrey. I've started a 7-week program, 7-week, that you can lose, you can develop a different lifestyle in 7 weeks. Proven, and by the way, it's free. Follow me on YouTube. The first 2, maybe 3rd week are up there. Obesity is a risk factor. The other risk factor that you don't see on the CDC website, quote me, share this, is vitamin D. When I started talking about this 3 months ago, people were like, 34% of Americans are vitamin D deficient. Follow me. I know you've heard this, but follow me. 36% of Americans, 34 to 36% of Americans are vitamin D deficient. 82% of Black Americans are vitamin D deficient. 70% of Hispanics are vitamin D deficient. You say, all right, Joff, so what? Vitamin D plays a crucial role in our immune system and our immune response. Without getting into the physiology, I'll just share a few studies. In an Indonesia study, by a reliable authors. It shows that those people who were vitamin D deficient, once you adjust for age, you were 10 times more likely to die of COVID if you were vitamin D deficient. Young professor out of Harvard has reviewed all the vitamin D literature and says, yes, people who are vitamin D deficient are 8 times more likely to have worsening symptoms of the COVID. Vitamin D vitamin D deficiency is a risk factor. Now follow me. I'm a black man, so I can speak about race very comfortably. Actually, in this day and age, most people can talk about race. The darker you are, the darker your skin, the less efficient you are at converting sunlight to vitamin D. The darker you are, the less efficient your body is at converting sunlight to vitamin D. And most of our vitamin D comes from the sun. One way to do this is get out into the sun as much as possible. Secondly, increase your dietary vitamin D. You do it by dairy products, things like, again, dairy products, fatty fish, for instance, mackerel, salmon, tuna. And then you can take over-the-counter supplements. Talk to your primary care doctor about over-the-counter vitamin D, whether or not you take vitamin D2 or 3, doesn't matter. Talk to your doctor. According to the Harvard study, the Harvard young lady recommended about 3,000 to 4,000 international units of vitamin D per day. But if you're vitamin D deficient and you go to your doctor and get tested, you may want to start off on a larger dose than that. Again, vitamin D, as it relates to darker skinned people, is a risk factor for COVID. You're like, hey, Dr. Geoffrey, we are kind of past COVID. No, we're not. We're already at 109,000. We will be at greater than 200,000 before the end of the year. COVID is less important to you only if you don't have any family members who have risk factors, or if you've not lost someone or been impacted by COVID. What we can do now for our community and for our families, which is absolutely key, is wear your mask and socially distance and wash your hands. COVID is still here. The protest is still here. We've got to do them both safely. And as it relates to COVID, one way we do that safely is to wear your mask. Again, is to wear your mask. That's it. This is Dr. Geoffrey. You can and by the way, for more information on the facts about what I spoke about, you can hit that bit.ly that is attached in the descriptions. It gives you all the information you need. If you want to learn more about split-second decisions, go to splitsecond.decisions.com. There's a free ebook download on there. And the split-second decisions book, How to Train Your Mind and Making Split-Second Decisions, is due out June the 15th. As you all know, I started to announce about 2 weeks ago that I was going to start to advertise my book, because the PR plan from back 6 months ago, this was supposed to start happening in March. But because of COVID, we were fully committed to COVID and saving the community. Now it's going to be the split-second decisions we make in our family as it relates to COVID. Let me give my regards for those people who are going to contract COVID in the next couple of weeks, and those people who are going to be hospitalized. 97% of us do just fine. As a healthcare member, as someone who's on the front lines, as someone who, just real talk, when I see you in the ER and you're there alone, you get extra special treatment, because you're there alone. But let me share, 97% of people I see, even once diagnosed with COVID, they go home. Now, the split-second decisions about those I send home have slightly changed, but most of them go home. What's most important that we can do now is take care of one another, be nice to one another. I would encourage you to call 5 people that you've not called in the last month just to touch in and say hi. These are scary times. And imagine people who have underlying anxiety. Imagine people who have underlying stress. This is the time that they want to hear from somebody. If we're all in this together, and we are, this is the time to reach out. It doesn't matter what color you are, they are. This is the time to reach out and touch somebody and say hello. Because I know uniquely firsthand that they're just real talk. I was working the other night and it was like 2:30, and this young gentleman came in, big, robust dude. He came in and it was raining outside, and his wrist was hurting. It was raining. It was a bad rain. He came in, and I went to go see him. Hello, sir. I'm Dr. Mount Farner. And he has mask on. So, oh, yeah, doc, just want to get this wrist checked out. I just want to finally get it checked out. I've been doing this for 25 years. This isn't making sense. His wrist was just fine. It had been happening for several months. Well, cutting right to the chase, the more I talked to him, he admitted, he goes, doc, I'm just concerned. I said, what do you mean? He goes, all that's going on in the world. Yeah. Because when you're the doctor, people are honest. He goes, are we going to be all right? I paused. He said, am I going to be all right? I said, oh. While he was here about the wrist pain, he was really there to make me feel. He was really there to have us make him feel better. And I made him feel better. I said, sir, things are going to be fine for you. And I just walked him through. The point of that story is there are people out here who you won't even guess, who don't even look like them, who are feeling the stress of this. And there are many people who are not stressed. There are a lot of people who usually don't experience stress, but they are now feeling anxiety as a result of all that's going on. I say all that I say, call 5 people. Call 5 people in your family, and I don't mean family members that you talk to every day. Call 5 people in your family that you've not spoken to in the last week, and then call 5 people who you don't regularly call. And it can be real simple. Say, hey, I'm just calling to check in. How are you? Or, hey, did you read the latest article of Vanity Fair? Just something to touch bases. Because sometimes just breaking that cycle for a moment, it gives them a chance to reset. And if there's anything we can do, no matter what color you are, black, white, purple, or green, is we can be kind to one another. We are at a crossroad in history, and at a minimum, you want to be able to look back and tell someone, I was kind to someone on that day. I was kind to 5 people on that day. This is Dr. Geoffrey. If you want to follow me, people who are already listening to me on YouTube, please sign up for my YouTube channel at Dr. Geoffrey. You can follow me on LinkedIn at Geoffrey Mount Varner. And you can follow me on my Facebook page at Geoffrey Mount Varner as well. For my Facebook people, I will have to move. Facebook just let me know. I don't know how. Anyone can please reach out and tell me. I've got to move from my personal page to my profile page. And then next week, I've got a special guest, a super special guest. I've Dr. Reverend Michael Battle, former president of ITC, Theologian Seminary School, former president of Chicago State, former ambassador to the United Nations under Obama. He's coming to us next week to have a fireside chat, just to talk about what's going on in the world. And then for more information as it relates to the whole weight loss, hit that bit.ly, follow the weeks on YouTube. But here's one recommendation. Don't listen to all the weeks, although they're all not downloaded. Listen to each week as you get to it. Having done this, and done it successfully. Follow each week as you get to it. That's it. Don't forget, be kind to one another. Say something kind to other people, and just smile. And this too, while it's stressful, we're going to get past this too. How do I know? The fact that we are sitting here says that we've gotten past a whole lot already. Be safe out there.